Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And you're very welcome along to Friday Night Racing, as the Sting says, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie, or even better, you can follow the new Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Our guest this week is James Nash. James, how are you?
All good. Yeah, good, thanks.
We also have Tom Malone with us. Tom,
how's it going, Ger?
Good. Johnny had a winner last week and he's not even here to lord it over us.
I know. I'm feeling under quite a bit of pressure, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I mean, you know, you could have 19 weeks in a row with no winners, and you could have one, and then you'd be on the same rate of success as Johnny is at the moment. So, James, how are you getting on?
All good. Yeah, good, thanks. Good farm.
What's this time of year like for you? Is it?
We're busy at the moment now. We've lucky enough to have a couple or maybe three for that Dublin Racing Festival, so things are busy. We have a few runners this weekend and they're running well. So,
what work are you doing on a week with a horse that's running this weekend? How do you make sure that they're match fit?
So this weekend's horses would have worked hard on Thursday, and they all schooled this morning. Just had a pop, that's all. We've two tomorrow and one on Sunday. So Saturday's horses we did a bit with them on Wednesday, and Sunday's horse we did a bit with him on Thursday.
And when you say a bit, you mean hard work?
They're pretty fit at this stage now. Most of the ones are running, but they'd have worked. Yeah, they'd have worked to make sure they're okay. So
what does that mean that it worked? So, do you get a sweat up?
Yeah, we'd canter. We'll say maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and once or twice a week, depending on what stage they're at. You do harder work,
right?
Which is you just go a bit quicker. That's all it goes.
How long? What distance is it like?
When they're fit, we'd be able to keep them ticking over by just going maybe a mile and 2.
Right.
Yeah, before that they'd go a bit farther maybe, but when they're fit, it's easy enough, like all that, it's easy to keep them ticking over once you're fit. So we jumped all the weekends runners then this morning, just give them a pop. Again, the hurdlers would have jumped 6 hurdles and 4 as the runs on Sunday. He jumped 9 fences.
Right.
Just literally enough for confidence, that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. So would you ever send the chasers over hurdles just when you're training them to kind of like, is it like you when a horse becomes a chaser, they only ever jump the big fences in training? Not
necessarily. We even You're Busy kind of used to mix it. One of the better horses we had, and we've a lad at the moment called My Manny Kaneko. He's a great servant. He's after being placed there in chases and hurdles, and literally he can swap back and over without any issue whatsoever. Basically, before he'd run in a hurdle, we'd pop him over hurdles.
Right.
And if it was the following weekend, if it was a chase, we'd pop him over a fence. You know, right. That's all. But when they get to be handicappers, they need very little of it, really. They need very little of it, yeah.
Because they've done the practice,
they get, well, he's 10 or 11 now, that he knows his job. But once they know their job, if, like I say, if we were running him in a hurdle, we'd school him over hurdles on the Friday, and if we were running him in a chase, we'd school him over fences, that's all. And 3 fences would do him now, just matter keep his eye in, that's all.
You're kind of dual purpose trainer, so when would you kind of introduce, say, a horse like Hammersmith, you have at the moment, you've had from the flat as well, but you probably, when you bought him, did you think he always had an eye as been potentially a jumps horse, but when do you sort of introduce that for them, you know?
Well, with Hammersmith, we probably weren't looking towards jumps, but he was just so big. And the reason we went jumping with him is that I don't think he was doing it on the flat. He came back after, he's placed loads of times. He won as well in the Curragh, which was brilliant. But he used to come back in too fresh after his races. And
what does that mean?
He'd literally come back in, and I remember showing the owners the last time we ran him on the flat, everything else walking around the parading wrecked, and he bounced out of the parading. Right. So obviously he didn't do a stroke. Yeah, and went home, and like if we fed him that evening at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, if like normally a runner might be slow to eat, I went back down 6 o'clock and it was gone. Like so, right. So he didn't break his heart. So to change his mind more than anything, we just schooled him now, and my plan was just school him. But he was so good at it, I said to the lads that we better go and run him and see how he get on. And over hurdles,
right?
Yeah, and he was a little bit disappointed the first day. And he really, really ran well the second day. So for the moment now, we'll stick to the hurdles.
He's a fascinating horse, though, because on pedigree, right, this horse is by a horse called No Nay Never. Yeah. And if you had a mare and you brought it down to Coolmore and said, "Can I have No Nay Never, please?" Like, certainly, that'll be €175,000, please, sir. Yeah. So that's the level of pedigree this horse has. But I saw him; he was second in Fairy House the last day, and I think you've got some big plans. So you can tell us about them in a moment. But like physically, he's a stunning, big lump. You'd never think he's a horse that was bred to be a sharp flatbred horse.
He
Like,
couldn't. No, he even and that might have been his problem on the flat. He just mightn't have been developed enough. He's nearly 17 hands, and he's as broad as he's tall. He's a fabulous looking horse. Now he's a fine horse, but like you could be pulling out any 3 mile chaser. He looks like a 3 mile chaser.
Right.
No, he won over 7 or a mile on the Curragh. And his last run on the flat, or his second last run on the flat, he was second on the Curragh, or just beaten. So he had lots of ability, but I just think that
He lost interest.
he definitely wasn't putting it all in. No, whether it was because he was too big and maybe he just needs a bit more time. We had a very good horse called Lewis at one time. He came from France and he cost a lot of money, and he disappeared. He lost his way, and I ran him in 4 or 5 hurdle races, even though he was a fabulous flat pedigree. But when he came back to the flat, he ended up winning 2 listed races. He won a listed race in the Curragh and a listed race in Leopardstown. And the hurdling just changed his mind.
I didn't know this happened.
Yeah, just changed his mind. It just, I'd say, one, he realised that he wasn't going around with 12 stone, going 2 miles on soft ground, and he was thinking, okay, this is handier. And maybe just training him that bit different. You do a little bit more, obviously, with the jumpers, and they'd be maybe more stamina trained and a little bit. He just developed probably better. And geez, when it completely turned him around, he obviously didn't stay in hurdles. He was never in the first 4 or 5 out of 5 runs. But when he went back, he won a Premier Handicap and 2 listed races. And it was only because it was the change of scenery, it just brought around the improvement, yeah.
So you must have been, when you put him over hurdles and he's not doing great there, you must know, well, this is a disaster.
We're in trouble,
one last throw of the dice, stick him back, see what difference it makes? Or was he starting to perform in the gallops?
His work was always good, yeah. His work was always
that's got to be even more frustrating.
Yeah, and he possibly didn't stay. And much knowledge we're looking forward to this fella jumping. He's only 3, just turned 4 now, and like I said, with his size and everything, he could be the best horse we have. But he'll definitely go back into flat.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
Hammersmith during the summer?
Hammersmith. Well, if not this summer, next summer or whatever. But he has to. I'd say he's a lovely mark. He'll definitely improve for the way we're training him and the jumping. And if he happened to go back, he'd be very well handicapped. And like, sure, he's a pretty good horse, you know.
Yeah. Would you have some nice plans for him upcoming over the next couple of weeks anyway, don't you?
Well, we have him in the Leopardstown. We have him in the juvenile race in Leopardstown.
So that's a grade one. Grade one Tattersall Spring Juvenile.
That's right, on Sunday. And that'll let us know where we're going. I'm expecting him to improve a good bit from his first. Well, he's running Fairy House, which I'm still considering his first run. I didn't count the one before. And he was second. He ran great. Just got beat by a fair horse, Gavin Cromwell's. And as the ground gets drier, I'm expecting him to improve. So Leopardstown will give us an idea, kind of, if he's good enough, basically, to go for the triumph or something like that.
Right.
And if he falls a bit short, sure, there's the Fred Winter, or there's the rest of his life. But I'm going to find out as soon as I can. Is he hopefully going to be as good as we're hoping? Yeah.
Can you ever tell from the work on the gallops about that, or does it have to be in the competition, in the white heat of competition?
Probably
at Leopardstown?
Probably the competition for this particular horse.
Right.
Because he'd be a horse that would always work smart.
Okay.
Yeah. And he really, really appears, even though he's by a flat sire, a very good one, he really, really enjoys his jumping. And it's always been electric. So I'm expecting him to improve away as the ground dries out, through the festivals, we'll say.
Right. And is he a gelding?
He's a gelding, yeah.
Okay. Did you buy him as a gelding?
No, but we gelded him early. Literally, he was hard enough work when we bought him, but besides that, he was just so big that I knew everything was going to take a bit of time, and we went that way about it. We just decided early on that we gelded him.
Is that a decision that's like, I'm closing down some potential future earnings here if this horse is really good, or did these horses never end up at stud because...
Well, Lona never, obviously, is turned into the real deal, but at the time, No Never was only at 25 grand,
right.
And the dam had won a few flat races. A friend of ours bred him the Henleys, and we didn't at that stage. Nona Never was just a lovely sire on the way up, kind of, but he just after completely changing things the last 2 seasons. But when we bought him first, he was so big and backward and things, I just thought it would nearly help him. When I bought him, we weren't looking at Stallion now, was a long ways from our mind.
Sure, yeah. In retrospect, would you make a different decision now, knowing all the things you know, or you'd still do the same thing?
I would.
Right.
I suppose he'd be easier to handle as well, wouldn't he? If he's a big, if he's a big entire and he's growing all the time, and he'd have all those hormones kicking around the place, he could be a nuisance. Imagine around the yard as well, if he was an entire.
I don't know what percentage is like, but there's 1% of racehorse and up stallions. Probably not even 1%.
Not even,
like way less maybe. But it just makes everything easier. And I always thought that down the road that there was a chance that this stud might just maybe end up jumping or whatever, and I just took him out. We gelded him good and early. Yeah.
We're talking here with trainer James Nash on Friday Night Racing. If anybody has any comments for us, you can leave a comment on the social stream, or you can always text the show on 53106. I'm interested here in that whole kind of decision-making process about taking them out of what they're supposed to be bred for and what's supposed to be their natural environment. Is this common enough where you would take? Is it like I haven't heard of it that often where?
No, but it's well. If they don't make it on the flat, sometimes they will say they're given the chance to make it as jumpers. Or
so I'd hear of that, but you'd never hear them going back, or very rarely. This is.
Well, no, Willie's Grade 1 flat horses are nearly failed jumpers. Like Willie paid plenty of money, we'll say, from real nice flat horses that were guaranteed to stay to go jumping. And sure, they end up nearly winning Melbourne Cups and everything when they went back in the flat, and they just didn't make it, imagine, as jumpers.
Yeah.
But again, I'd say they were all big, good-looking horses that took time to develop, and while Willie went jumping with them for that season or whatever, they were getting bigger and stronger and being trained different. And again, whether it's just they find it so much easier going back in the flat with their 9 stone on nice ground, instead of mullicking around with 11, 12 or whatever on heavy ground in the winter, maybe they just think, hold on, now this is great crack. Or a bit of both, a bit of the fact that they're after manning up and getting stronger. And but like they bought fair flat horses that went hurling for a season or two and ended up incredible flat horses, and end up Grade 1 horses or Grade 2 horses at least. That true self, that mare that went to Australia and won this year.
And is this relatively new, or was like Vincent O'Brien doing this kind of stuff back in the day?
I don't think it's relatively new. A lot of the horses, some people are just bought to be flat horses, and then they basically sell them on to jump trainers or sell them on to and of course some of them are no good, full stop. But some of the better ones, for some reason, after a couple of seasons jumping, if it's not working out for them, maybe, like I say, it's because they're developed. But when they go back at the other game, they seem to have improved a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
They can kind of grow past their mark as well. So say if a horse has an early flat career and they end up with a mark, say in the 80s or something, and then they go hurdling, but they'll hold on to that flat handicap mark. But say they've grown 2, 3, 4, by then they're physically much better, so they come back and they still have the same handicap mark. I mean, I think Ger Lyons in particular kind of pointed that out. It's some of Willie's that had early career marks that then went back to his 4 and 5 year olds when they clearly just physically grown past them.
That's right. It's fascinating. And the other side of it then is you'd know very early now with Hammersmith, like if he went down the very, very first morning, I remember sending his breeder video, the very first morning, like he took it to jumping and loved it.
That's got to be a big thing as well, hasn't it?
That's the big one on the right there.
That's the big horse, yeah. Whereas you can bring horses down, they absolutely hate it. They hate the thoughts of leaving the ground, but some of them are, even though he shouldn't be natural with his pedigree, he just was very, very natural from the very first day. We bought him and we jumped 3 what we call baby hurdles, and normally we might jump 6 or 9 of them the first day and leave it at that, and then go back a week later and and he went down, he winged the 3, and I just said to Gavin, I said, just pop them 2, and he went down, he just popped, the same as if he was at it all his life. And he'd no reason to, because he wouldn't, so we ended up, basically the first morning, kind of jumping everything that was in place.
How emotionally attached, to this do you become? Because there must be incredible excitement when you realise, actually, hang on a second, this thing which we thought was lost,
I know.
What's that like? What's that? Because either it's a roller coaster and you go with it, or you try and remain
it's
completely
still a roller
stoic.
coaster because they can make fools of you. More of them make fools of us than we're right about. We're wrong about more horses. And with his pedigree, there was a huge if. He can jump all he likes, but he had to go and stay. And the first day, I was thinking, I wasn't happy with his run full stop, and thank God he nearly ran too bad to be true. I was kind of going, geez, I hope I'm not after getting this wrong. But he turned up the second day then, and showed what he was showing me. And like I say, there's no reason why he won't improve all the way through as far as punches. There's no, he's still growing, he's fabulous engine with a great pedigree, and he loves jumping. So look, he's the dream at the moment anyway.
And were you very down that first time when he didn't perform?
Well, thank God he ran too bad to be through. He only finished 6th or 7th, and he was kind of bet turning in. So it wasn't a matter of not staying. It just didn't really happen for him for whatever reason. No, of course, I was scratching my head, but I wasn't actually worried about him because I knew in my heart and soul he was a lot better than that.
So you were definitely going to give him another opportunity.
Well, we ran him in a grade 3 the first day instead of a maiden, and then we went back and ran him in a winners race again rather than, I didn't want to run him in 20 runners or 23 or 4 runners. He'd just that bit of old class about him. I went to the small field that he'd see what was going on and follow around good lepers rather than follow around pure novices.
Yeah.
I just thought he might improve more for it, and it worked out. And sure, he nearly won it. It nearly really worked out for us, yeah. So the next day now was a big day because it's a matter now, are we there or can you go again?
So, sorry, just explain again which race it is in Leopardstown?
The Grade 1 Spring Juvenile Hurdle at Tattersall's Ireland.
Right.
I mean, have you had many Grade 1 runners?
We wouldn't for too many anyway, no, we wouldn't. But there's a chance that this fella can improve to be a graded performer anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like
And how big a field would that be?
there's plenty of entries at the moment. They tend to cut up.
It should be about 12 or 14 or
Right, so it's a big old field.
That'd be a lot.
Yeah, you would think so. That would be a lot.
that'd
Yeah,
be
you're right. There's a thing to.
If there was, I'd say everyone involved would be delighted if there was 8 or 10, and that's what I'd imagine would turn up.
The Henry's horse, so the Aspire Tower, was a really impressive winner over Christmas, and you imagine he'll kind of frighten a lot.
Well,
off
he's
as
the
well.
best. He's at the moment he's the best 3-year-old in Ireland, isn't he? Or 4-year-old now.
Yeah.
So, James, it seems like you can't make long-term plans really. Like you can, I mean, it makes fool of you if you're I'm going to go with this flat horse I have. It's going to be a great flat horse for the next 3 or 4 years, and suddenly.
Well, I'm still not ruling out his flat career. I think the same. I think that he's one in particular. I know by his work that he has an awful lot of natural ability.
Right.
And always had. And if the jumping can change his mind, I think when he goes back into flat, and if he works, I don't think, even though he's won and been placed in the Curragh twice, he never, ever ran to his work.
Right.
Ever. No. Like he works much better, we'll say, than his rating of whatever, 78 or 80.
Are you timing that? Is that, or is it just an eye test?
An eye test, you'd know by the horse around him.
Right.
He was just, we didn't have anything that would be able to work with him now.
Okay.
He's just eating them like.
Yeah. Not that we'd have an awful lot of horses that grade, we'll say, of flat horse, but we've very good work horses in Showtime, and then they'd know their job and they'd be older than them.
You're in the Curragh, so would you say, I don't know, ring a neighbouring trainer as a half-decent horse and say, here, listen, would you have one just to go up the Old Vic or something with this fella?
We would, and there's no problem. Sir Connor's there and Aidan Howard and everything. I've often used, but we'd have another enigma in racing. We have a couple of very good work horses that are ordinary race horses, but they'd work way above themselves. And once you have one of them in the yard, they'd give you they'd give you a line. Yeah. They'd be incredible horses to gallop at home. But when
How do you feel about those horses?
They absolutely heartbreaker hard.
Well, we have 2 of them now, and you couldn't believe the way they'd actually work, and you bring them to the race and they run terrible. And have done more than once, like, so you give up.
Who owns those horses?
You have to. As it turns out, I own them now.
Okay, right.
Yeah. No, they don't hold owners for long.
Yeah,
they don't,
I can imagine. It's like, this horse is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you can. There's only about 3 days you get away with it. Like you just have to give up. And they exist in every yard. Every yard has them. Morning glories. Yeah.
That's a real challenge. I mean, that's something for me, for trainers, I find fascinating. That like political juggling where you just have to ring an owner with good news, bad news. No, he's working the house down, and then he goes and runs absolute stink. And it's just, how do you? Well,
sure, you don't. You just, like, if you have owners, which 90% of them do, or they shouldn't be with you, they'd believe you.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's a hands-up job. Look, he's just not doing it here. So they accept it now as well. Like, most owners kind of know the run of things as well. Like, and sure, not making it up. So you don't go fancy them the second or the third time for nothing, like, you know.
Yeah.
And if they're letting you down, then after that, sure, it's just it can happen. It can, and I guarantee you that all the yards in the Curragh have 1 or 2 of them, and they end up lead horses. Like, they end up lead horses. Yeah, and they're good at that.
There's no. I mean, obviously, you try all the tricks.
Yeah, blinkers, and you try whatever, but they're more plentiful than you think.
Right.
Yeah. More plentiful than you think.
Yeah, that would be heartbreaking. Right. Friday Night Racing brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Our guest this week is James Nash. James, how did you get into this? Were you always a trainer? Was it from training stock? Was it always part of your destiny?
I rode. I was an amateur for whatever 10 or 15 years. I was lucky enough to have 2 very good jobs. I was in Dermot Wells for 6 years, and I was in Willie's for 7. So they didn't get much better than that, and rode plenty of winners for both.
When you were there, were you like a sponge, I'm going to be a trainer someday? Did you know that?
Oh, I suppose when you get into your 20s, maybe when I was younger, it mightn't have been top of the list, but I really enjoyed that end of it, yeah. And when you were getting to the end of my riding career, I was heading that way already. Yeah, I was heading that way already. Yeah.
Right, so you knew, and well, at that stage you are looking around going, how do they do this?
And Willie in particular is very helpful. I had great years there, and very helpful all the way through. He'd be teaching as much as he could as he was going, you know, like there was...
it's fairly remarkable when you think about it, because ultimately you will at some point have horses going against his, and he'll be like, well done, I trained you well.
Well, he still is the first on the text when one of them wins now.
Is he?
He's not holding it against me anyway. Yeah, no, he's not. No, he's well on to himself. But brilliant, obviously.
What did you learn?
I was very lucky because I went from home with point-to-pointers. I rode my first point-to-point winner for my father, and then I went to Cork to Kelvin Hitchmo, and it was kind of national hunt based. But I rode my first couple of winners down there were for him, and then I went to Dermot Wells. So I got a look at the flat game before I went to Willie's. Dermot had an awful lot more jumpers at that time now, and that time even though I was an amateur, compared to now, he used to let me ride some of the jumpers as well. Like, he was very good to me, and most of it was jumping, or most of it was flat in Dermot's. So I got to see all the way the 2-year-olds were training, whatever else.
And were you an amateur flat jockey as well?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what would have been the like big horses that you would have seen go through Wells then?
Sure, I rode all them horses out. Like, I didn't ride them all of it, but sure, I rode Fortune and Fame and Vintage Crop and every one of them. Like,
oh, right.
Yeah, I rode them all out. Yeah, and rode A-back and plenty good horses, winners for them. I don't know how many, but I rode plenty of winners for him. But when you were going to the start, I think we won the 4-year-old bumper in Leopardstown every year for years. Like, when you were going down to the start of one of Dermot's at that time, they were all favourite, and most of them would win. they were
nice job,
yeah, a brilliant job. Yeah, they were exceptional.
Did you appreciate it at the time that you
I did because I followed racing, and I did. You couldn't wait to get the declarations. You couldn't wait to get the racing post. You couldn't wait to. Every single one of them was fancied. So there's nothing like going racing, you know, on a fancied one, compared to going racing with no chance.
So you don't feel the pressure of, oh, Jesus, everybody here is watching me, and you're like, yeah, come on, bring it on.
Well, it wasn't bring it on, but I was riding very good horses for a very good trainer.
I suppose the thing is, well, you're an amateur rider, so you've come from a point-to-point yard, and you know, a lot of amateur riders are going riding yaks and point-to-points in fields, and I'm here with Dermot Weld and turning up for the favourite for the GPT or whatever.
And Dermot actually kind of half stopped me riding point-to-points there at that time when I went up, and that wasn't any harm either. Now, he was clever enough to...
Because of
just
the risk of injury or...
And just, I was riding a better type of horse, and that helped, obviously. And then Willie, I met him one day in Leopardstown, he said he was going to return at some stage, so I went down there and started, and it was completely different then. I was after seeing the shiny boots and the short and the gallops around the curragh and down to Willie's. And at that stage, Willie had just the small gallop, the famous small gallop, and I think he only had about 15 or 16 horses when I went down there first.
What year is this?
Oh, God knows what year it was now. I don't know what year it was. But
what decade are we talking?
Late 90s, isn't it?
Was he retired? 20 years ago, anyway, wasn't it? Yeah, about 20 years ago, yeah. But that's all he had, but rats of fillies and yokes and bits and pieces, but he got them all to win races.
Just like those, I don't know, maybe people maybe they drive through the curragh early on a weekday morning, and you see like the Weld string, and it comes out from Roswell House, and they might fly up the old Vic, and they are immaculate in like their matching rugs and embroidered with DKW on them, and all the matching hat silks, and they come down in file and go back up the curragh, and it is just poetry in motion. And Willie Mullins' yard is not like that.
No, well, like whatever, but now, when we went there...
Yeah, well, it's not like that, but
no, it was rough and ready, and just their emphasis at the time, the same as his father, was Paddy, was fitness. Like, they were just fitter. Yeah, they were just fitter. They were just, and really opened my eyes as far as fitness is concerned with horses.
Are they working better? Are they working...
Harder.
There's a gallop. His gallop is so deep. His gallop is really, really deep. Horses have to work really hard to get through it, don't they?
Yeah, they were fitter. Now, in saying that, he just proved them with all the ordinary horses and all the ordinary pedigrees and whatever, and slowly but surely, like, he didn't become a success overnight. He just got better horses and better horses. And now I'm certain that fitness isn't an issue anymore like it was then. Like, when I went to Willie's first, Willie's won all the rest because they were fitter.
Yeah.
Now,
so everybody caught up.
Yes.
Right. So it's like Arsene Wenger at Arsenal.
Yes.
Everybody does what he does, and suddenly.
I don't think fitness is an issue anymore. But Willie proved that he was brilliant at it. Great manager of people and owners and staff and everything else, and ended up with the better horses.
Right.
But I think Ireland or England now, when horses get beat, like, it's very, very rarely is fitness anymore. There's too many options. There's too many guys. Everyone has gallops. Everyone has wood chips, and everyone has.
And the science is much better.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone's after catching up with scopes and bloods and all that. Like that was a thing for the big trainers one time. Now everyone does it. Like.
So you've obviously seen then firsthand the growth of Willie down to the good management. Is that what you're learning from him? You're like how he treats people, the fitness. Like it's an amalgamation of things. I'm gone over there now maybe 8 or 10 years, but it went that way. Is that it just got so professional. Like, we only have 20 horses. Like, we'd have 24 or 5 maybe for the summer. Sometimes in the winter we'd be only riding out 15 or 16 or 17. That's all we have. So it's a different show completely. Yeah.
But the bigger yards, they're fair hard to run and fair hard to keep organised. There's unbelievable work behind the scenes with nothing to do with horses. Like, unbelievable.
Like
when you were dealing with 40 staff,
like just compare. We were down with press day in Gordon's, and like every lot he would ride out, say 40, 45. So that's 45 riders alone in there. So that's before people who muck out, before any administrative staff, before anything else. Yeah. Like, that's just one lot going up the gallop, 45 at a time.
And Gordon's the same. Like, Gordon's like, I rode with Gordon. Like, Gordon's incredible where he's after coming from in such a quick time, and to be dealing with that sort of an outfit now as well. Like, the management and it's absolutely incredible. Would you fancy that, having a Richard Fahey saw 300 horse plus strength? Not particularly. No, who's to say? Of course, if someone said, "Look, we'll send you 20 horse up," but I always said, I think what we're doing. I think that. I like to think that even when we've 25 or whatever, we've 5 staff and we've bits and pieces going on here, that we nearly get the best out of them, in my opinion. Like, I think we get the best we can get out of them that way. And I'm not sure, unless, I'm not sure, I think our huge numbers maybe work, but I'm not sure if 60 or 70 or any of them financially work. I think there's a big gap there in the middle of where I am and where the big lads are, and it's hard to survive. Yeah, it's hard.
I presume it's hard to survive with 20 and 25 horses.
It is, but at least your overheads aren't huge. And we're on the Curragh, and it's a fantastic place to train. And like, we're across the road from all the gallops, and we get our lots out in 45 minutes. And I only have 4 or 5 people to pay every Friday. It frightened the life out of me now to think to pay 40 people every Friday. Just things that have to be lots of changes. And like, you'd be talking about, you'd be absolutely committed. You know, like, every second of every minute because it's too tight when you get that big. Like, you have to do everything. It's hard work anyway, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's hard work being a dual purpose trainer as well, because there's no off season, but you have to be, it turns out, because the horses demand it.
And I'm only a dual purpose trainer because staff, like, we don't let staff go.
Right.
You know, we don't need new staff. Like, if you were only doing one or the other, you'd be going from big number to a small number, big number, and you'd be either wasting money or you'd be letting lads go that you wouldn't get back.
Yeah.
I think it's sensible from our point of view, just with that number, to just try and keep the same staff on the go all the time, keep the same amount of horses on the go all the time. We'd have horses being pre-trained and horses on a break and horses and whatever, so we'd always have that amount at home. And that just keeps the whole show kind of going at the same rate.
And do you need to do a bit of breeding and buying and selling as well, or is that something?
We do a bit of buying and selling. We'd be, well, when you only have that number, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd get rid of the lesser ones. There's loads of clients in England for horses that would be placed here or would run well here that mightn't be good enough to win here. There'd be a lower grade race in England and an awful lot more opportunities. They'd have no problem. Horses placed in Irish maidens or even Irish handicaps will have no problem winning in England. And there's plenty of clients for them. It's easy to get them shifted. You have to realise at some stage on your way up if you think that that's as good as there, just get rid of them. Get them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
owners appreciate that as well. Yeah.
because they're getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. We're going to take a quick break. A reminder, Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Our guest this week is the trainer, James Nash. We're right back after this.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
OTB Sports Radio. Team 33 Gold. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Mark Kinsler, winner of 48 Ireland caps. I went down to Charlton. I did pre-season with them 2 or 3 weeks. Played two games with them, scored in both games. Sat down with Curbs, delighted with everything. He said, we want to sign you. Sparrows Lane to Lair Road is 2.5 hours if the traffic's good. Spoke to him, grand, agreed everything. By the time I got to 2.5 hours to back home, he was off. I got a phone call from Curbs and he said, listen, the deal can't be done. I said, coach still want all the money. It was 150 grand. I said, coach wanted it all, now we can't do it. And what happened then, they'd sold Lee Boyer to Leeds for 2.75 million. So coach obviously think, well, he can give me the 150.
Team 33. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And you're very welcome back. It's competition time here. The Dublin Racing Festival obviously goes to post at Leopardstown Racecourse next Saturday and Sunday and combines the best jumps racing with the best Dublin has to offer when it comes to culture, music and food. Enjoy National Hunt superstars compete for 8 Grade 1 races, over €2 million in prize money over the course of the weekend as well. To win 4 Dubliner bundles for next Sunday with premium level access and reserved seats, just tell us which horse won the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup in 2019. So which horse won the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup in 2019? Just text your name and answer to 53106. Each entry is going to cost you 30 cents. And remember, this competition is open to over 18s only. Right. James Nash is still with us. Tom, you wanted to talk about a horse that's going at Nace this weekend?
Yeah, interesting one of James's, Forza Milan. He runs in the Nace Business Club at Novices Chase at 2:10 on Sunday at Nace. Interesting, carefully selected runs as well. But there was kind of a big furore after Cheltenham last year about the National Hunt Chase. It was a small amount of finishers. It kind of didn't look great. So they've changed some of the conditions for entry. So because of that, they've reduced the distance slightly. They've changed the rules on who can ride in it. They have to be more experienced. But also, to qualify, you have to, what's it, James? You have to run over 3 miles, basically, isn't it, over fences and complete.
You have to be you have to be in the first 4.
First 4, yeah. So Forza Milan.
Yeah, he's a horse that we got from England last year, and he was a fair horse in England. He won 2 or 3 hurdle races, and he came to us, and we started him off in a little race in Tremor and fancied him, and a 4 on a race, but he only got as far as the second. Something fell and brought him down. I was the 4, like, what are the chances? And he picked up a little injury that day, so he was off until Fairyhouse. So he's a big stayer. He's actually a full brother to One for Arthur, the horse that won the English National, of Lucinda Russell's. So he appears like he's a stayer, and he seems to jump well. So we started him off in Fairyhouse, and he was second to a good horse, the Willie's, in a 2 mile 5 novice. So the reason I'm running him in that, he's a maiden now, but it's a good race, a grade 3 race, is that if he improved as much as we hope he'd improved, like you were saying, Tom, they brought in rules this year that you have to be in the first 4 in a race at least 3 miles to qualify for the 4. Well, it's 3 mile 6, it's not even a 4 mile anymore. It'll be always known as the 4 mile. But they cut it back to 3 mile 6. They changed a few of the conditions. One of them is that you have to be in the first 4 over at least 3 miles. So that's where he's going there now.
So he has to beat 2 home on Sunday and
hopefully
show
beat
himself.
2 home, yeah. Hopefully. And I'm sure that's why Carefully Selected is there.
Yes, because the only other opportunity he'd have is probably like the 10 up or something at Navan or something like that.
Patrick mentioned that he'd like to ride him in it. So
well, he only has I tweeted about this yesterday. Patrick must have been allowed to do the entries because Willie is famous for multiple entries for every horse. Every horse always has a backup plan, except for Carefully Selected, who's only got an entry in the National Hunt Chase, which is restricted to amateur riders as well. So Patrick will ride him, assuming he finishes in the first 4 on Sunday. Yeah, which he should do.
Which he should is right.
Which is 1 to 1,000 to do, basically.
Yeah, which he should is right. Yeah.
So those two will then both end up in.
So if Orlad we're still feeling with him because he's only 1 completed start for me. So just say tomorrow, or just if he happened to run well enough, maybe to be second to carefully selected now, and I'm saying he will, but if he happened to run that well, if he improved that much on Ferryhouse, at least we have the option to go to Cheltenham.
Right.
His owners would love to have a runner there, like every owner would. And if he's not quite up there, if he finishes third or fourth, I've entered there in a few handicap chases over even more extreme distances coming up. So after tomorrow's run, he'll be liable for a handicap mark in Ireland anyway. So or Sunday. So it's a learning curve for us about the horse. If he improves a good bit, we can dream about going to Cheltenham with him for the day out. And if he's a little bit more disappointing, or if he's not as good as we think he is, we can go forward in handicaps.
Is he the kind of horse that give you a dream? You know, he's a full brother to a Grand National winner. You're thinking, Irish Grand National. If he does get beaten, it's not the end of the world. Nice handicap mark.
He'll be doing his best, and he's pretty fit. We could have ran him in the normal race on Saturday in Ferryhouse. I think the owners and myself were keen to find out exactly how good or where we're going. They won't be disappointed if he's not good enough.
You're carefully selected, and Ronald Pump are proper graded horses anyway. He'll be ahead of him.
We'll find out. It's a day to find out.
So you need to know the distance of every race in Ireland, essentially, because otherwise, how are you going to find the right?
There'd only be 7 or 8 races now that would qualify the lads for that 4 mile, just with the new conditions.
Right.
And
but at the same time, it actually, my point persists. If you've got a horse, you need to know exactly, you know, is there a race in Tramore that this thing could actually win? Is there another one in Kilbeggan that this thing could win? Yeah.
Well, the only difference, remember you were saying earlier about Hammersmith will say, and his work at home, and how did I think? And you'd be hoping to say, like, obviously with the real stay-in chasers, the only way you find out is run them.
Right.
Because you're not never going to go 3 mile at home, like you're never going to. So his pedigree and the way he runs and he relaxes and hopefully jumps, we think he's going to be a 3 mile plus horse.
And are there different 3 miles? Is the 3 mile track everywhere the same in terms of what you would expect your horse to be able to do on it?
Some of them would be stiffer. Navan would be very, very stiff 3 miles. And some of them might be a bit easier, but at the end of the day, 3 miles is 3 miles.
Right, okay. So.
Yeah, we'll know after Nash, as long as he puts in a good round of jumping. I'd be expecting him to be staying on well. But sure, if he doesn't, we're just going to have to go to a plan D or plan B. But the only way you really find out about the real stay-in chasers is you have to run them. You have to. They'll tell you, yeah.
Are you poring over every race meeting to see how everything does, so that you know next time you see on an entry sheet, okay, actually my lad's going to win this, or he's going to compete against these guys, because I've seen him trail off at that. I can't believe they've entered him in the 2.5 mile when he only gets 2 miles.
I kind of watch a lot of racing anyway. I'm a fan of racing. I watch an awful lot. But how we'd work it is, the calendar is called, with all the racing on it. We get it 3 weeks or a month in advance.
Right.
So you just go through it. So there'll be 4 meetings on that will be on in 3 weeks' time. So every horse is qualified for every race.
You
fill in.
Okay.
Yeah. You just write them in over them and say, well, he can run. And then as it gets closer, we'll say it would come up a week beforehand or before, and they mightn't even be qualified anymore if they're after winning or whatever, or something might suit or something might jump out. But you'd have an idea at least a month beforehand where they could go. Yeah.
I find that part of the job really interesting.
I find that as one of the most interesting parts. Like, even if you think of a horse have a certain amount of ability in your head, and you're thinking, well, if you can run here, 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 and here, you might get him to punch his stand that way. Or
and
something.
When you're doing it, of course, there's a dream, like, and there's a if all else goes, if all else fails.
Does every have like 2 arcs, here for yes, and then we get him punched down. Oh no, we might end up in Dundalk on a Friday night.
Send them back to the flat.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right, it's been a bit of a wait, everybody, but I'm delighted to inform. Johnny's not here this week. I've already said this, but we eventually found success after Arcadian Sunrise. The first of Johnny's selections last week got the job done at Thurles with his second pick, the odds-on footpad. Not so good, only finishing runner-up behind stable companion Real Steel. The end justifies the means, and the Tote Injured Jockeys Fund is off the mark for 2020 and now stands at the princely sum of €310. The Irish action this weekend is going to come from Ferryhouse tomorrow. On Sunday there's a high-class card at Nace in the UK. It's trials at Cheltenham, which could provide plenty of clues for the festival in March. New Tote customers can get up to €50 cash back for opening a new account. See the tote.com website for more details. What are we looking at?
I'm looking forward, at Cheltenham, I'm looking forward to a horse called Santini returning. He's had a wind up.
You're a big fan of Santini.
Big fan of Santini. I think he could be a little each way squeak for the Gold Cup. Maybe back him now. for the Gold Cup rather than wait until he wins tomorrow, because the way anti-post betting is at the moment, anything wins just gets cut to nothing. So have a little small each way betting for the Gold Cup. Hopefully he wins at Cheltenham tomorrow. Will I give my tip? Because it's going to be a short price one. The big getaway for Willie Mullins in the 240 at Nace on Sunday. Just wins. That it could be a short price, but yeah, we're going to go with the big getaway. But James, do you kind of fancy one of theirs at Fairyhouse?
We've a couple in the last in Fairyhouse.
The last race in Fairyhouse. You have the two Myodes, Myode Gold and Myode Lady.
Yeah, in-laws horses. The wife and the mother-in-law.
Very important owners to keep happy.
Owners. And Myode Lady, we fancied her in the race in Punchestown last week, and she fell actually early. It was her first one over fences, and she had been schooling great, but didn't work out for her, which can happen to any novice. So she won in Limerick first of Christmas. But I think the other mare, Myode Gold, she's only after 3 runs. She won, 4 runs. She fell early her second day. But
Myode Gold there on the left.
Yeah, but she won very well that day in Fairyhouse. And I think she's going to love to step up to 3 miles. And even though she's going to be pretty novice-y for a handicap, I think the handicapper was fair to her with her mark. And I'm expecting her to improve for the step up and trip. And she'll be a workable price now, but she's definitely worth a few bob each way anyway, yeah.
Good stuff. One other thing about the weekend, the feature races, one is the Limestone Lad Hurdle at Nace and the Solarina Mares Hurdle at Fairyhouse. They're both owned by the Bow family, of course, trained them. And the Limestone Lad is a brilliant horse back in the day, and Solarina is a joint record for Hatton's Grace wins along with Apple's Jade. But Hal Safari runs in the 1 o'clock at Fairyhouse. And I'm pretty sure Hal Safari is the last progeny of Solarina on the track, so it would be really nice if Hal Safari, who's a son of Solarina, who the feature race is named after, if he won. So he won at the track last year, so it'd be nice if that was to come for the Bow family, who obviously have Limestone Lad, who apparently is still out in the field and is wild apparently.
Right.
Hasn't let down at all, hasn't relaxed. He was a tear away on the track, and he's still apparently an absolute character out in the field. Go near him, he'd take the head off you.
Right.
Yeah. So he hasn't relaxed in retirement at all.
I was just checking prices for the Gold Cup there. Santini's 9-1 already.
Yeah, have a little.
Think it'll be much shorter than that.
It'll be 9-2 if he wins tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
I'd say.
All right. The rest of the year, then, obviously, as you talked about getting horses ready for Punchestown. Obviously, there's some hope that you'll have some runners in Cheltenham too. So there's kind of the Dublin Racing Festival is the next big thing. It's imminent.
Yeah.
And
well, that's a very big weekend for us. But we normally we wouldn't have horses basically good enough to run there. But we're going to have 3. We're going to run a horse called Showtime. He won well in Cork his last run. He's going to run the 2 mile handicap hurdle on the Saturday. And Hammersmith's going to run on the Grade 1 Juvenile on the Sunday. And a mare of my own called Aloha Mora is after winning her last 2. She's going to struggle to get in now, but if she gets in, she'll run the 3 mile handicap hurdle on the Sunday. So it's great to be involved in something like that.
There's Aloha Mora there.
Yeah. She's a great bit of stuff. She won a novice chase, or a rated novice chase in Limerick at Christmas, and the step up to 3 miles really seemed to suit her in Fairyhouse when she won very well the last time she ran. So if she doesn't get into the race in Leopardstown, she might go to Sandown for a big 3 mile. There's a 100 grand 3 mile handicap hurdle there the same day in England. Yeah. So
you're in a rich vein of form at the moment.
Well, long may it last. Yeah.
And so how do you explain the current form being really good? Is it?
I suppose, I don't know, horses come in and out of form, but we were supposedly, we had a very quiet year last year. We were on the coal list. But when we were on the coal list, friends of mine were working out that with 26 or 7 placed horses, there were actually 33% of them were being placed. So I'm not sure how cold they were. A couple of them fell even going to win. I'm not sure. But at the moment, obviously,
just because when your luck is out, it's just completely out, isn't it?
And I think it was more that than the cold. But obviously, if 5 or 6 or 7 of them are after winning there in the last 6 weeks, something is. But at home, we're not doing any different, or we're not doing. And they're all, the scopes and their bloods have been good all along. But maybe they just got lucky or just clicked. I don't know. I think, still when they're winning, it makes everything easier.
Yeah, I'm sure. But there must be, it requires confidence to not make changes when...
It's very important not to make changes when it's gone. I think everyone, in horses, especially in horses, maybe in any athlete's training, but you just have to bite the bullet and just, if it worked before, like Like, you don't forget how to train, you know.
Yeah.
It'll work again. Like, we'd good years and bad years, and we'd good horses that won big races, but we didn't do anything different. And when it was quiet there last year, they're long days, but you just keep doing the same and hope it'll turn out right.
Is there a lot of introspection around that? Is there like a threat to yourself that you might change things, that you're like, geez, I'm just going to, I've had enough, we're going to do something different?
There is, but I don't let myself anyway. I'm stubborn that way. No. Stick with it. We're at it too long now, and we know what works. So why change it? Like I say, if they were running terrible, we'd have to check and change everything. But they weren't actually running terrible. We didn't have winners there for a bit. But I think they were running great. They just weren't winning. It maybe if things were going to pot altogether, maybe you'd have to relook at something. But our place seems to be pretty healthy. The scopes are normally very good.
Right.
So we just keep at it and see what happens.
Well, listen, best of luck this weekend. We'll obviously be keeping a close eye out on Hammersmith and the rest of them, Forts and Milan as well. And I hope the rest of the season goes really well for you. Thanks a million for joining us today.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Right, a reminder, Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. You can use that hashtag every racing moment as well to follow everybody's tweets on Twitter. We stream live every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and then we also go live on Newstalk every evening from 8 o'clock on Off the Ball on the radio. So if you ever want to drop a comment on, or if you want to text us on 53106, we'll get to those comments in just a couple of minutes. Thanks a million. See you next week.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.